Cultivating the Sociome, Governance Without Governors by Eric Moon. Introduction. Towards the end of his life, the eminent biologist Edward O. Wilson, in a magazine interview where he was discussing his views on the meaning of life, made this statement: "The real problem of humanity is the following. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. I don't have much in the way of suggestions about how to deal with the Paleolithic emotions or the godlike technology. I do, however, have at least one suggestion about how to move beyond our medieval institutions. The suggestion is this: we can replace the old paradigm, based on what I call intelligent design, with a new paradigm that is based on an understanding of natural evolution and the way of nature. If the implications of this proposed paradigm are unclear to you, you are not to blame, and you are by no means alone. Our systems of educating the young so far include very little in the way of evolutionary thinking and the principles of self-organization. I believe it is, however, vitally important for us all to see clearly what the implications of the old and new paradigms are if we want our cultural evolution to take us and our progeny in the direction of happy and prosperous societies, characterized by less conflict than what we now experience. Here is an attempt at characterizing the old and new paradigms. An intelligent design paradigm rests on the idea that a group of rulers must exercise oversight and regulation of individual and institutional behavior so as to control real-world outcomes, with the aim of trying to make those outcomes conform as closely as possible to some ideal. Conflict is frequently the result of a contest for who it is that gets to exercise the power, and for that reason, among other reasons, no one seems to get around to doing much more than trying to gain power. An evolutionary paradigm, on the other hand, rests on the idea that outcomes are fundamentally beyond our control due to the complexity that exists both in ourselves and in the real world, and that what we can in truth directly affect by choice does not extend beyond our choice of means. We will never be able to choose ends and then create the means that will take us to those ends. Thanks to the legendary Buckminster Fuller for his insight that systems are organized by the energy flowing through them, an idea that helps us understand, as we choose the means and try to implement them, what we end up doing is to add to the energy flows within the system. These energy flows then result de facto in the organization of the overall system, even if we believe that what we are doing is choosing ends. Social animals, including humans, create a kind of orderly organization by observing simple sets of rules that each creature applies only locally, and the observance of which leads spontaneously to the emergence of large-scale order. For example, fish, grazing mammals, and birds instinctively behave in ways that lead to the emergence of the superorganisms we call schools, herds, and flocks. And social insects such as ants and bees instinctively behave in ways that lead to the emergence of the superorganisms we call anthills and beehives. Governance without governors. Likewise, the emergence of order in the human sociome will always and forever depend on the set of rules we as individuals generally follow and apply in our respective localities. We must be mindful of the fact that although we humans do have some instinctive behavior, we also have behavior that arises from the use of our spectacularly complex brains. Unlike ants and bees, we can, to some extent, pick and choose among the rules we will actually follow. If you find the ideas expressed in the previous paragraphs new and puzzling, you are currently in the majority. Spontaneous emergent order is a fairly new idea, and one that is only just beginning to find its place in our collective consciousness. We humans, too, can have governance without governors, just like the birds and the bees. And in truth, we already have much governance that takes place without governors, even if we do not recognize it as such. If you're skeptical that such a thing as governance without governors could actually work, I tell you it is already working, and on a massive scale. Those among us who have not previously been exposed to the idea of order without orders find it difficult to believe and are often surprised when they first hear about the spontaneous emergence of order in the natural world. They are even more surprised when they hear about the spontaneous emergence of order in human society. Our conventional wisdom consists of carryovers from olden times. We have inherited a worldview based on the ways of medieval thought, institutions, and social organization, where kings ruled by divine right, and where rule-making, oversight, and control of the lower classes were the province of the inhabitants of the castles, the churches, and the manor houses. Most people believed, and many still do, that without this sort of regimentation imposed from above, or at least strong leadership, the achievement of order would be impossible. But in the towns, outside the jurisdiction of the castles and the manor houses, practices of production and commerce evolved in a way that demonstrated there can indeed be order without anyone intentionally making it so. And an even bigger surprise was that the order that was generated spontaneously led to far greater efficiency and general well-being than the order that had been imposed from the castles. So read on. In this book I have distilled the ideas contained in my podcast essays and have tried to put them all together in an accessible form. If you read carefully, you can catch on to the proposed new paradigm of evolutionary thinking. And as this modern paradigm spreads, we can lay the intelligent design paradigm to rest, or at least push it to the sidelines, with salutary results for humanity. Look for Chapter 1 coming soon, where we will go deeper into the ideas of emergence and emergent order. If you wish to get a hard copy or a Kindle of this book, it's available now on Amazon.